how far do tour pros actually hit the golf balls? Luckily, got one on hand. Not only a tour pro, he's a tour winner, Marco Penge.
Cheers, mate.
Welcome back, buddy.
Thank you.
We're going to go through your full what's in the bag today and find out how far tour pros actually hit it.
Yep.
You think it's got longer or shorter over the years?
A little longer, I think.
A little bit?
Yeah.
Just a smidgen. Just a smidgen. And you're one of the longer ones. Do you reckon you could take Bryson in a long drive comp? Give you a month's training?
I think it'd be a good test, but you never know.
Right. Let's get to it. Let's find out how far these sticks are going. Right, so we're going to go through your bag, Marco. We're going to start with wedges.
Yeah.
You've got 4 wedges in total, pitching
Yeah.
wedge all the way down to 58. Let's start with the 58.
Yeah.
What is it you look for in a wedge when you get in them?
I mean, 58, obviously, or wedges in general, I'm not tending to hit flat out.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's more down to feel, control, feedback from kind of the shaft and stuff. So a lot more feel based.
Yeah. Would you look for a particular shape at all?
I tendency like to see it fall right to left, just because obviously spin rate for me is a lot higher than most players in terms of my speed. So
Yeah.
I'm always constantly fighting with spin with my wedges. So, a knockdown shot for me obviously takes a spin off, moving the ball right to left, to slightly less spin also.
Okay, let's pip one away with this one. And what we're expecting your 58 to go?
About 100 yards. It's a shot I don't hit that often.
So
but
I bet you don't hit it full out, do you? Really?
No.
99.8. You're not bad.
100 yards.
In terms of like the head then of the golf club.
Yeah.
Will you look for particular like grinds? Do you like a sharp bleeding edge? Do you like it rounded? What's the process?
It depends on what turf I'm playing on, whether it's soft, firm, Bermuda grass.
Yeah.
Kind of changes in terms of but that's more for around the greens. In terms of as a pitch shot, I don't want too much bounce, but I need enough bounce to make sure the club comes back out the ground.
Yeah. And would you have like any extra work done on them generally?
I'd have
that done?
The kind of more to the leading edge, slightly shaved off for when I'm around the greens, so I can open it up and take the bounce off.
Okay, going to 54 next. Do you have a favourite wedge or one that you hit more of your short game shots with?
54 is a club I use a lot. I try not to use my 58 too much around the greens unless I really have to.
Yeah.
But the 54, it's definitely got a lot more forgiveness in terms of strike.
Yeah.
So, I can get away with
a little bit more.
Yeah. So
it's interesting because most amateurs would probably go straight to the most lofted club.
Yeah.
Uh, 112.
Yeah, it's slightly soft. I can get that to 120. Like I said, it's a shot I wouldn't hit that often.
Yeah.
It's actually carried 118.
Oh, is it 118 there?
So it weren't too bad.
Number. 118 for your 54. Would you hit that full out a lot of times or?
Only when the greens are firm or maybe a front flag.
Yeah.
Where I can send it over the pin and spin it back.
Then is that when you go to your 50 next then?
Yeah.
And that'll be more of the fuller swing for this club?
Yeah, definitely. The 50, it's quite a big club for me to be fair. It's a kind of the last club in a kind of wedge sort of build.
Yeah.
And my pitching wedge is kind of classed as my iron set. This club has to be really, really versatile in terms of being able to get more out of it, being able to take 25, 30 yards off it.
Yeah.
It's probably one of my favourite wedges, to be honest.
Like the new look of the T1s?
Yeah, I think they're great. Really nice. Really
Very
nice.
clean, aren't they?
They are. Great looking wedge. Does pretty well for me. So
is it one again that in this club it's more of a full swing? Are you still having the grind on this? Is
no
the
grind.
edge getting tempered with or?
Yeah, no, not really. This is kind of your bog standard 50 degree really. So
mid-range bounce around about 10, is it?
Yeah, 10.
I think that's one thing as well that a lot of people think about tour pros, like every wedge they've got is low bounce.
Yeah.
But I guess you only do that when you'll go to somewhere where it's like proper baked out, hard, firm ground.
So like the British Open, that's, that would be definitely low bounce.
Yeah.
Whereas say if I go and play in South Africa on Bermuda grass and the ball's teed up and the ground's pretty soft,
that'd be a nightmare.
You know, I could use as much bounce as I want really there.
Right.
So that is an area of the bag that I'm changing constantly week to week, is mainly the 58 degree.
Right. So just chop and change, just solely on bounce.
Yeah.
Interesting. How far are we expecting 50 to go?
135.
Like my A time. Spot on. You know your numbers, sir. So then we move into your pitching wedge set. We've got the S3s from 4 down to pitching wedge.
Yeah.
Why S3? Why not a blade?
You know, a blade, I was using a blade and it just got a little bit fragile when I was playing on soft turf. You know, the leading edge is a little bit too sharp, wouldn't come out the ground.
Would that go back to that bounce issue?
Yeah, so you know, now I've got, it looks like a blade when I'm set up over the ball, but you know, the sole, it's got some bounce on the club to kind of get it back out the ground.
Yeah.
I'm more on the steep side, so I need a little bit of help with getting the club back out.
More,
yeah. So, yeah, great irons that I've loved since I've put them in the bag. They've been good.
You find like that little bit of cavity just gives you that reassurance?
I think so, yeah. You know, slight misstrike, you do get away with it a little more than a blade. I mean, these are great irons, you know, for the sole, the forgiveness, the flight, the versatility in flight and spin rate. So,
let's see this. So this pitching wedge, what's this number going?
This is 155.
I'm going to jump you up the set. We will see your other ones here, but 7 iron now.
Yeah.
Up to that. Is like offset a thing that you ever think about when you're looking at an iron? What's like the profile of the iron head that you go for?
For me, I don't tend to look at that too much. I know there's quite a lot of players that do. You know, some players have 0 offset. I've never really got that into that, if you know what I mean. I kind of feel like once, you know, since I've been at Mizuno, kind of just getting the iron straight out just felt really comfortable. So,
straight off the van and off we go.
Off we go, yeah.
And what do you, obviously you've got everyone's playing different shafts now. What's the makeup of the set?
Shaft wise, it's KBS.
Yeah.
Hard stepped 7.0s. I think it's 130 grams hard stepped.
Yeah.
So I'm constantly, you know, trying to keep the spin off my irons.
Yeah.
A little bit different to the longer stuff. I feel spin's my friend in them, whereas in the irons I struggle to keep the spin down. So
yeah, being quick and slightly steep, you always get a little bit more. In terms of your loft and lie, is that what's going on there?
Lie's a degree strong.
Yeah.
Again, spin rate, trying to keep the spin down.
Yeah.
And the lie's, I think it's 1 degree upright. Okay. I prefer to see it a little upright. I don't like it seeing toe down.
Yeah.
So
I like monitor that as well.
Yeah.
As you go through week to week out on tour.
Constantly making sure my loft and lies are where they should be.
Okay.
So you know the guys at Mizuno have a record of my loft and lies, so we're constantly making sure they're where they should be.
Nice. And how far is this one going to go?
Should go 200 yards. You know, my yardages are kind of on my full number. Not that I hit that much.
Yeah. 200 for a 7 iron. And are you trying to see a certain flight? Are you always trying to work it one way or the other?
I like to shape it both ways.
Yeah.
As a stock shot, I like to see it start right and fall left.
Yeah.
I find it pretty tough to get to that point because I'm always slightly on the fade bias, but you know, if I keep constantly working and feeling like the ball's dropping left, then it keeps the fade in a pretty good window.
Yeah, nice. Let's jump up then. Let's go to 4 iron. Can you remember your first ever Mizunos you had?
Oh God. Can I remember? It was actually the blades was the first. Last year I used the 243s. Can't remember the exact name.
Like 241s or
some
221s.
Yeah, that's the one. That was the first irons I used.
From Mizuno.
Yeah.
Like them?
I did love them. I mean, they're great looking.
Yeah.
You know, I think everyone loves the look of a blade.
Yeah.
Especially a Mizuno blade. You know, they've been if not the best iron manufacturers since back in the 1900s.
My first set actually were before you were born.
Right.
26, so mine were TCDs.
Right.
So a picture of those up, they were from like when was it? 89 or 91
Right.
maybe.
Yeah, that was definitely before I was born.
Right, so 4 iron, what we're looking here, how far is this going to go?
245, 250.
Okay.
I tend to, long irons I don't tend to hit that often into greens. Par 5s would be the place.
Yeah.
I'd use my long irons quite a lot off the tee.
Yeah.
I'm not that often I'm trying to carry it at my full number at 245, 250. You obviously hit this stinger shot a lot with 4 irons, but into a par 5, if I had 250, I'd be hitting a 4 iron.
Okay, and it'd be one that you'd, like you say, is it more just trying to get it up onto those greens or working it down a fairway if it's a bit of a narrow shot?
Working it down a fairway, it'd be, bringing the flight down into the greens. It'd be a very neutral flight. It's hard to kind of draw a long iron.
Yeah.
It's obviously easier to move it left to right, but pretty neutral.
Yeah. 245, 250. So this is getting to like peak driver distance now. Lovely shot. What do you do gapping wise when we get to this end of the bag? Is it a case that your pitching wedge down to your 50, your 54, your 58, are they staying pretty? You don't change the lofts of those?
No, keep them the
It's
same.
this end where we start seeing the gaps change from week to week.
Definitely, in the woods for sure.
Yeah, so currently here at the minute, this is the setup that you've just won with. We've got driver, 2 iron, 3 wood.
Yeah.
Is that your go-to?
Yeah, I always stay with 3 wood 2 iron driver. There's players out there that switch between a 2 iron and a rescue or 5 wood.
Yeah.
2 irons.
Imagine rescues are too spinny for you.
For me, yeah, and 2 iron is my favourite club in the bag. It's it's a shot that I hit so much off the tee when the driver's not behaving really. So.
Okay. How far's this thing going then?
So this is going 265. Again.
What loft's that at?
This is at 17 degrees, so it's slightly strong. But like I said, I like to hit it a lot. So
more of a teeing off club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hit a stinger all the time with this club. I can hit it into the greens if I want to hit it high.
Yeah.
Can shape it both ways.
TX, was it 10 you've got in there?
TX 10, yeah.
Yeah, so heavy and stiff.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, one that you're always trying to see a little bit more left to right with, or right to left?
Mix of both. Again, it needs to be very versatile in my bag. It needs to be able to go both ways, move up and down.
Would you, I think there was one week where, did you have a 1 and a 2 iron in this?
Yeah, I was carrying a 1 and a 2 iron for a little spell, purely because I love my 2 iron so much.
Yeah.
I was doing a little bit of testing to see if I could, creep the 3 wood out in some weeks and put in a 1 iron.
Yeah.
But it was quite tough to get a big enough gap for it
would
to
you,
be worth it.
Would you ever put like the 3 or the 4 in if there was a case where it was, a longer, say like the PGA that you're going to be playing in?
Potentially. That potentially
Looking
could be something I would
par
look into.
3s or longer par 4s are going to be like driver 8 iron for you.
Yeah.
But put longer par 5s. Because they are, like I said, they're very versatile clubs, aren't they?
Yeah. So, great looking club, so forgiving. For a 2 iron.
Yeah.
Most 2 irons probably would be the hardest clubs to hit, whereas I find with this Mizuno 2 iron, it's just awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
265.
Yeah.
That's my driver. That's a beauty. What a golf shot.
The spin rate with this club is so consistent.
Yeah.
You could strike it off the toe, the heel.
How many times will you hit that off the tee then in a week in a comp? So you've got 14 fairways around.
Yeah, some weeks, I could be hitting it 10 times.
Really?
Yeah.
I wouldn't have thought that.
I'm lucky that I hit it pretty far, so I can, I don't have to hit driver if I don't want to hit driver.
As often, yeah.
Last week I hit 2 iron a lot coming down the stretch. I trust it so much. And it does what I need it to do.
Yeah, like it. And then we move into the 3 wood. What have we got here?
So we've got a freeward currently set on, I think it's 15 degrees.
Which head are we using?
We're using the ST Max 230. Again, pretty good. I'm not the best freeward hitter.
Yeah.
Kind of get stuck into whether to swing it like a driver or whether to swing it like a long iron.
They're a weird sort of like parallel three woods, aren't they?
They are.
Like, what do you use it for? Teeing off, or is it a going for it on a really long second shot?
You know, most guys on tour especially struggle with freeward. It's a club that
Never see them change that often either, do you?
No, and statistically, you know, the dispersion with a freeward isn't that much less than a driver.
No.
You know, you're hitting your driver a lot, whereas a freeward, you're not hitting that often. So dispersion-wise, in terms of making sure you hit it in play, it's not too different to a driver.
Yeah, we almost like, we do a video where we say they're sort of like a bit of a wasted space as a club.
Yeah.
Probably better off with a 5, especially for a handicapped golfer who's struggling to launch it a little bit off the deck. They're incredibly hard to hit.
They are.
But if you could get a 5 or a 7 wood, you'll carry it the same and actually get a bit more forgiveness and versatility.
A bit more loft helps you keep it up in the air. So
we're seeing a lot of 7 woods pop into players' bags at the minute. Is that something that you'd?
I mean, you know, you see that a lot in you know, when the courses are really firm, like the US Open or the Dubai Desert Classic.
Yeah.
You know, even at Augusta. For me, you know, I would maybe give it a little try, but that 2-iron's too hard to get out the bag.
Yeah.
So
it's going to have to do something seriously wrong for
that
you
has to stay in the bag, wherever I am.
And what are we seeing? How far's this thing going then?
280, 285.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, it's a lot shorter than a standard freeward.
Yeah.
It's cut down about an inch.
Great shot. Well, this is the moment that everyone's been waiting for here. The big dog, Marco.
Yeah.
Cruising speed of about 125 miles an hour.
Yeah.
When you want to ramp it up, it gets to about 130.
It does, yeah.
What are we playing with there? What have we got?
I've got the STX, currently at standard loft for me with 9.5 degrees.
Yeah.
I do kind of change the loft a little bit depending where I am in terms of altitude. Yeah, I mean, it's been in my bag for quite a long time, this driver, I think a couple of years now.
What's altitude doing to the ball? Like, is it adding a lot of distance when you get high up?
Yeah, so we play in South Africa quite a lot at the start of the year, and you know, you're 1,000 meters above sea level, and you know, your distances are 10%. You're hitting it 10% further.
Gosh.
Because the ball stays in the air for longer and the air's thinner.
Yeah.
And that also makes the spin rate drop. So when I go to places like that, I loft it up to make sure I've got enough spin on the ball.
Yeah.
So
depending on where you are in the world, you will make a little bit of a
for sure
loft change more than anything.
Definitely.
You won't change shaft or head, it'll be more just
the loft.
Face angles.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
let's see, is this we've got 2 shots here to show, haven't we? We've got the squeezer and the bomb.
Low one and the bomb.
What's squeezer?
So at the low one first, I'm looking for, you know, the flight to be kind of half the height to a normal drive. You know, I hit this shot a lot when there's a lot of trouble around. If I want to if I want to make sure I hit it in play, this shot comes out.
Probably what, 60-70% of the time you're hitting this off the tee? It's not just gung ho every time.
No, 60-70% is about right. Yeah.
Okay. And how far are we looking to carry?
Around 300.
Okay.
So it does come off like it is a bit of a rocket.
If everyone gets a Mizuno driver, that's how far they'll go.
Exactly.
Yeah, quite a sort of like flattish flight, I would class that as.
Yeah, it's very direct.
Yeah.
It's not spending much time up there.
Okay, and that's the one that's going to find the fairway more.
It will be.
We peg it up higher, I would assume, for the bomb.
So the bomb is, you know, in the air for as long as it can be.
Yeah.
Tee height goes up, ball position goes a little forward. Stance is wider.
This is going to what? Another
just full send it
10%
another.
On, or?
Yeah, 325.
Right. And you're only hitting this, what, sort of 20%?
Yeah, 20% of the time. Didn't get it.
Didn't quite see another one then. Let's see another one.
Thank
It's a
you.
shortish tee, sorry, but
I can still hit it off this one.
you can still get it out there. I'll
Yeah.
get you a, do you want a longer one?
Yeah, go for it.
There we
Thank
go,
you.
sir. So you were going to be looking for like 320 on this.
320, yeah.
320, 325. That is how far a tour player is hitting his driver. Oh, that is launched. It's almost like, I know it's not, but it looks like double the height, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's
Just pops up in the air and
there'd be
and
probably
sends it.
treble the height.
Would it?
Yeah.
What would your sort of peak height with your Stinger be?
Stinger probably 50 feet,
Okay, and then that's going to be.
and then that's going to be up to like 130, 150.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Well, guys, that is how far a Tour Pro is hitting his clubs. I think I need to get down to the gym to get anywhere near those. Marco, thank you for
Cheers,
that.
Matt.
If you
Thanks for having
haven't
me.
already, make sure you check out the other lessons we did with driver and iron with Marco. Some great stuff there. See you in the next one.